Welcome back to OpenLine. We are talking about the Nashville Film Festival tonight. You are just invited to join in and give us a call if you have any questions. 615-737+ is the number. It is on the bottom of the screen. Jason Padgitt, the executive director of the Nashville Film Festival, is joining us to walk us through this tonight. And Jason, I would love for you to pull back that curtain a little bit and tell us about the submission process and how these filmmakers go about getting their film to a festival and what it means for them and what it can lead to.
No, that's a great question. And it's one of the unseen processes behind any film festival. Ours is not different than the Sundance Film Festival and many other wonderful festivals in that we take an open submission process, and we actually open our entry period right after the New Year holiday. So the first day of the year, non-holiday day of the year, we open for submission. So our submission process goes from the beginning of January through about the middle of June. So during that entire period, we receive over 6,000 films from all over the world.
Wow.
And the entry process is set up like a true competition. It's a competitive film process. So if you're an independent filmmaker and your film is not in theaters or been distributed anywhere else, there are some eligibility rules. Those are some of them. You have the opportunity to submit to the Nashville Film Festival, and once you've been submitted, it goes through several rounds of both pre-screening and professional program screening, and the mechanics of that are, there are independent trained people that watch the film, score the films. Those scores get calculated and aggregated, and they come up to our professional programming level, who goes through titles and feedback, and then they go through kind of the next round. So as I said, by the end of January, we have enough of a catalog of submitted films that screening process is already beginning. And then we typically notify the invited films in and around the middle of July to say, hey, you've won yourself a spot at the Nashville Film Festival. Would you like to confirm your attendance with us? And that's really when the confirmations of titles, the confirmations of the traveling filmmakers, and all of that takes place. So you can imagine 6,000 plus entries that kick off into the new year. It's never slow. It's a very, and it's important to us too that all of those films get the full look and they get the full feedback, and they don't get watched by just one person who gets to put their opinion out. They get watched by multiple people, because we know that some people may have a particular taste that is not everyone, so we like to take those scores and make sure that it's a really fair and equitable process. But that's a little bit behind the curtain. I could spend the whole hour on behind the curtain, but because it's an impressive operation run by our programming team. But that's kind of the short of it.
It really does sound like quite the undertaking. But what does it mean? I mean, obviously it's very competitive to nab one of these spots. What will it then do for the filmmaker when that person can say, I had a film at this festival or that festival or all of these festivals?
Yeah, no, that's great question. Of all of the film festivals in the world, and everyone has their own niche and they have their own equity and they have kind of their own brand attached to them. The Nashville Film Festival is in the 52nd year. It's one of the very first US-based film festivals, behind Chicago, New York, San Francisco, and less than a handful of others. And because of that, it's built a wonderful reputation for being independent, innovative. As I said, it has a great appreciation for artists in both film and music. And so if you are invited to the Nashville Film Festival, the first thing it does for you is it raises your own notoriety for being in the Nashville Film Festival, because it is considered an important independent film festival. And number two, by being in the festival, you get a good boost of your own marketing to the industry at large. We have great media coverage throughout the course of the festival, including the industry trade magazines like Variety and Hollywood Reporter and many more, and then mainstream media like Parade and USA Today and others. And so by creating that early buzz, there's a great benefit. And if you're a first-time filmmaker and you get selected to the Nashville Film Festival, it's a great credential to get to open doors for you elsewhere. I should also mention one thing that we also run in parallel to our film festival proper is a screenwriting competition that runs during the exact same cycle. The difference is obviously you can't show a screenplay at the end of the competition, but we just announced our finalists of our screenplay competition today, and those are also similar principle. These are artists who once selected, by just being a part of the Nashville Film Festival, they already get the name recognition that opens doors to literary agents and other folks that know that if it got through the gateway of the Nashville Film Festival, it's a quality product.
This is totally putting you on the spot, and if you want to come back to it, just say so and we will. But I want you to name drop a little bit, any famous films or filmmakers that have risen through the Nashville Film Festival over its 52 years.
Yeah, there are dozens actually, and I couldn't begin to name them all, but I can tell you, when I went through all of the archives, Brie Larson is one, for instance, huge star now. In her first film, she was an attendee at the Nashville Film Festival. There were also folks like Colin Jost and a lot of people that were early in their career came through the Nashville Film Festival and have become major stars, including directors. I mean, there are many. It predates me, so I
Sure.
wasn't around to shake their hands, but I can tell you it's a great on-ramp for lots of people who have had great careers and continue to.
When film festival pops in people's minds, they will think of Sundance or something like that, and maybe the red carpets. Do we have red carpet events associated with ours, or parties, that sort of thing? Will that happen as well over the next week?
Yes, absolutely, and it's great that you mentioned Sundance, because one of the other new and what I think is new and improved aspects of the Nashville Film Festival is, historically over the last many years, for very good reasons, the festival had been hosted in one of two multiplex theater environments, the Regal cinemas. And the reason for that was it was really about the volume of screens that you could show that many films in, right? But if you're a resident of Nashville, or you're somebody who's coming to Nashville as a visitor, those are great theaters and great companies, but they don't represent, in my view, really the essence of what makes Nashville a really wonderful metropolitan city, because they're in kind of the mall environments, and they don't really give you that Sundance feeling. And so this year we took that note from a lot of feedback we had through the years, and we are now housing each day of the festival at a Nashville venue in either downtown or midtown. So we do the first 4 days at Rocketown downtown on 4th Avenue. We'll then on Monday be at Belmont University's, they have two theaters there at the Johnson Center, so we'll be there all day on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we do the full day at Marathon Music Works, the historic building there at Marathon Village. And then we close the festival, our last day on October 6th is at the historic Belcourt Theater, which we're really excited to be there again. So that on that note, the idea of immersing yourself in the city of Nashville in much more of a social and aesthetic way, that's also new and exciting for this year. And as far as parties, yes, we have an official opening night party at the new 5th and Broadway complex right there downtown. Our official closing night party is at Ruby, which is right down the block from the Belcourt Theater. And then we have a centerpiece party, which will be at the Analog at the Hutton Hotel. On top of that, for badge holders and filmmakers, if you buy a badge or are a filmmaker, we have a series of special events through the week, including one at the Glenn Campbell Museum, and some other kind of fun surprises through the week. So definitely social opportunities all throughout the week, and that's all part of the festival experience for sure.
I love it. It's going to really give people a taste of Nashville. Do you find when you look at the demographics of who attends, In a typical year, and I know last year was not typical, but in a typical year, does this draw in a lot of visitors to town, or is it mainly the hometown crowd that turns out?
You know, it's definitely mainly the hometown crowd, but it does draw in visitors in normal years. So we do have a lot of folks that sort of build their vacation schedule around the festival and will spend, you know, a couple of days with us and then a couple of days doing some other things in Nashville. We've had some groups that come year over year from, you know, New England and out west and all sorts of places. But definitely the majority of the audience is certainly in kind of the Tennessee region and here in Nashville. But it's a mix. You know, we always do a post-festival survey, and in the time I've been here, it's always been very interesting to me, the diversity of the audience, both in age and demographics and region. So it's exactly what a festival should be, and it's something I aspire it to be, which is very broad and open to everyone of all walks of life. So we don't select films based on trying to curate to some particular niche audience. It really is intended to be a big tent that everyone can come into, and that's really what we want it to be.
Very cool. We have to take another quick break. When we come back, I'm going to ask Jason to give us a taste of some of the films that you might be able to catch. Stay with us.